Hello, welcome to the St James and St Peter's Webcast. It's Thursday the 26th of March and I'm sitting outside in the sunshine. If you open your door or open your window at the moment and just listen, everything's so much quieter. You can hear the individual cars going past. The helicopters are having quite a busy day. But there's long pauses where there's nothing going on at all. It's almost like you can hear creation, you can hear the planet taking a long, deep breath, a long, deep sigh of relief. Because our 24/7 society, our travel, our cruising, our shopping, our travelling, our driving, our doing, our working, is all bit by bit grinding to a halt, apart from the absolute basic essentials. In Chronicles, tells the story of how God's people Israel end up in exile, and it comments on it and says that after God's people had got into exile, the land enjoyed its Sabbath, as though for years the land itself, creation itself, hadn't been given rest by God's people because they'd not been doing things God's way. It's almost as though that the Genesis story of that rhythm that God builds into creation of evening and morning, day and night, light and dark, of different places for different things, and the Sabbath day of rest to cap off all of creation. It's almost like that's built in. And so, without Sabbath rest, it's no wonder that the resources of the planet are running low, and the atmosphere of the planet is starting to turn on us and turn on creation. And maybe, for a few weeks at least, a few months at least, the planet has a chance of Sabbath rest. And Sabbath time is different to everything else. There's time for work. There's time for doing, creating, making, exerting dominion, taking control over things, shaping things, inventing things. But then at the end of the week of creation and at the end of every period of work is a time for reflection. An ancient philosopher, possibly Socrates, one of those Greek guys, said the unreflected life is not worth living. And in Christian tradition and Jewish tradition is the Sabbath, a time when activity stops for reflection and worship and relationship. A time when people eat, when there's food. A time when people worship and there's prayer. But a time when pretty much nothing else happens. There is just space and silence and a different rhythm to life in Sabbath time. We're now living in this enforced Sabbath. And I wonder, without all the other voices, what do we hear instead? The Bible tells the story of Elijah who goes to the mountain, 40 days journey, reflecting the 40 days and nights of Noah, a time of purification, looking forward to the 40 days of Jesus in the wilderness. And there's an earthquake, and there's a fire, and there's a wind, all violent and loud. But when the noise all stops, there's the sound of a quiet whisper. And that's the voice of God. With all of the noise and the activity stopping, this can be a time for us to hear the quiet whisper, the voice of God. What's happening in your thoughts now that's different to what you were thinking out before? How about your priorities? It's reckoned that what coronavirus means in practice is that whatever chance we had of dying this year, that chance is doubled. Whatever our age, whatever our health condition, we are twice as likely now to die of whatever as we were before. So this will make us think about mortality, especially those who are in the high risk, high exposure areas, in the health service, in the shops, in the emergency services now. So this Sabbath time, will make us think again about our lives, about what's important, about are we ready to live? Are we ready to die? The story's told of fictional story, I hope, of a man who was on his deathbed. He called the priest in to say the last rites, and the priest said, "You must renounce the devil." The man refused. "You must renounce the devil." And the man refused. And he said, "Why won't you renounce the devil?" And the man said, "Well, in my position, I don't really want to go around making any more enemies, do I?" Are we ready? Are we ready? There's an ancient prayer in the Eastern Orthodox tradition. When you lie down to bed and you pull the sheets up, the duvet up over yourself, the prayer that says, and this may sound slightly morbid, says, "May this bed be my tomb, may this sheet be my shroud. Into your hands, O Lord, I commit my spirit." May this bed be my tomb, may this sheet be my shroud. Into your hands, O Lord, I commit my spirit. And what's that about? Well, that's a prayer entrusting everything about us into the hands of God and saying, if you grant me another 24 hours on this earth, then your will be done. And if you take me to be with yourself, then your will be done. Because as St. Paul says, to live is Christ, which is amazing. To die is gain, is even better. So for us as Christians, this is a time when maybe we reflect on our frailty and our vulnerability and our mortality, but not in a way that comes from fear, but in a way centred on Jesus, whose resurrection we'll celebrate in just a couple of weeks' time. The death not to be feared, but is a gateway to life. Death is a friend that ushers us into the fuller, richer, more glorious presence of Jesus. And in the meantime, life is a gift every day. And into our days, let's weave Sabbath, time to reflect, time to think, how has what I've done today been meaningful? What have I done today that has been an act of worship? What have I done today that has loved God or loved others? How have I used the time given to me? And so even in an unstructured time, it's quite hard. We've got children at home who are doing their schoolwork and trying to follow a bit of a school day. But if you're just self-isolating, if all the normal meetings, all the normal events that you'd structure your week around, if all of those have gone, then there is a challenge, as Annie Nixon posted on her webcast a couple of weeks ago. There is a challenge about how do we create structure to our lives. And having a Sabbath structure, having a special day a week, having a special time each day that is set aside for God, when we stop working, stop doing, stop busying, and simply listen and worship and reflect and say, Lord, what does this mean? What questions do you want to ask me? Final thought. People would often come up to Jesus with questions. And if you read through the Gospels, and here's a great thing to do now, you've got lots of spare time, read through the Gospels and see if you can find a single instance of Jesus giving a straight answer to a straight question. If you can, then I'll buy you a pint when this is all over. Jesus usually responds to a question with either a story or with another question. He is constantly putting questions back to people that want to follow him. And so maybe a good thing to ask in that time of quiet is, Jesus, what question do you want to ask me? Because we're always full of questions with God. Why won't you answer my prayers? Why won't you do something about suffering? What about this? What about that? But God is most fully shown in Jesus. And if we were asking those questions to Jesus' face, he would wait until we'd finish. And then he would ask us a question back. Now, I don't know what question he'd ask you. I'm not even sure at the moment what question he'd ask me. But maybe this Sabbath time, this time of enforced stillness, this time when creation starts to breathe again, maybe we can breathe again and listen for the silent whisper of a voice, the voice of Jesus, and the question that he wants to ask. I wonder what it is. Thanks for watching. Do join us on Sunday for our live webcast, 10:30. There may be another one of these before then. Also look out for the podcast that Reverend Ruth is doing. And may God bless you. Hope you to enjoy this wonderful sunshine and to listen to the breathing of creation. Listen to the breathing of God within you and connect more deeply with him today. May God bless you. Thank you.